All practice pages and other materials for learning cursive are available at my Teachers Pay Teachers store at www.teacherspayteachers.com/store/Ann-Fosnight. Learning Cursive Lesson 57, Capital Z. When comparing printed Z to capital Z, we can see that they're really not a lot alike. Capital Z in cursive has a couple loops in it, and it's a 3-space letter. Forming capital Z is a little different than the other candy curve letters because it really does make its candy cane, but it doesn't stop there. It adds a loop. So we begin between the midline and the headline with a candy cane, but when we get to the baseline, we make a loop and then down into a tail, like for a Y or a J. And that's our capital Z. So we have an overcurve, slant in, then a loop, and then a descender tail that crosses at the baseline. Overcurve, slant and a loop, descender tail slant, and a loop that crosses at the baseline. So 1, 2, 3, 4 strokes to make our capital Z. It's similar to a lowercase z, except on a lowercase z we don't make a loop, just a little bump. But it kind of looks like a lowercase z stretched into 3 spaces. I'll bet you're all the way ready to complete your capital Z practice page in cursive. You have your desktop cleared, your paper properly slanted, you're sitting up straight, and you've written your name neatly at the top of the page. Let's look at the model for capital Z. We see the curve over curve, the first loop that starts at the baseline and goes just a small space up, not even halfway between the baseline and the midline, and back down into a tail like we make on a lowercase y or a lowercase j or g. So we make that candy curve down and back around for a loop and down to the descender line with a loop that crosses the baseline. On those training wheels, we're training our hands. We make the candy cane and the loop down and touch that descender line and make a loop that crosses over at the baseline. It's a small loop in there, crosses over. When you've trained your hand on the steps, you're going to come over to the model again. Underneath it, go ahead. Start between the baseline and the headline. Go on down, make your loop and your tail. And you have a capital Z. A capital Z is a letter that connects. It connects with an overcurve. So we go over and then our down curve for our A. When it connects with an undercurve letter, it has to turn back into an undercurve. We've practiced that before with some of our lowercase letters like G and J. If your name starts with a Z, feel free to replace one of these names with yours to practice it. We have Zach, Serena, Xander, Zeta, Zeke, and Zoe. Sometimes Zoe's written with 2 dots over it. Go ahead and trace those, paying attention to your connectors, especially with the Zeta, where we have to turn that into an undercurve to get it to connect properly. Same is true with Zeke. If you can fit the words on more than twice, go ahead and write them extra. Have some extra practice with the Z's. Last letter, capital X, coming up next.